Sonia, I really don't have anything to say to you after what you did to Otis and me.
Please, Mandy.
What?
Mandy, well, for the last 5 years of my life, I've spent more time with you than I have with my own family. So to think that you wouldn't even give me a chance to explain myself, it made me feel like none of that meant anything, like I was less than nothing to you.
Sonia, you know
Mandy,
that's not
Mandy,
true.
listen to me. Just hear me out. What I've been trying to say, what I've been wanting to say to you is that, like, man, you're the most, oh God, man, you are the most selfish human being I've ever met in my entire life.
Whoa, wait a minute, honey. What are you talking about?
You might be pretty, but you're nothing but a dime a dozen bottled blonde who looks like she was created in some sort of lab. Do you know what it feels like to work and work and work 5 long years of my life wasted trying to be second best to what some eye candy that has absolutely no talent? You have no talent. So I want you to listen carefully, Barbie doll. I know you better than anybody in this entire world knows you. Like a sister, like a roommate, like a teammate, like a partner. And I will use every ounce of my being to ruin your life. And then, what's gonna happen? Everyone's gonna realize who the real champ of Fire and Desire always was. An actual fighter, not some centerfold bitch.
Oh, I'm so glad I slapped you at WrestleMania.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 202 of the Hoots podcast. I'm recording this on April 23rd, 2020. We just coming off the heels of Earth Day, so everybody give a shout out to all the planets around planet Earth and surrounding planets like Neptune, Venus, and all the other good brothers and good sisters in the outer space. Welcome everybody to the podcast at Hoots. I'm Joshie. You can follow me on Twitter at The Hoots Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at Joshie Lopez 94. That's Joshie Lopez 94. And also make sure to follow me at Josh Lopez Music if you like to hear me play some guitar covers. Other things to plug really quick. I have a website called ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. That's where I do all my play-by-play articles for all your favorite pro wrestling television shows. And also, you can catch me occasionally on Jonathan Hood's Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday podcast, which you subscribe to right now. Just like this one you're listening to right now. We're available free to you to charge. No, we're not. We're not charging you anything, actually. This show is available. It's free. Download it. Subscribe. Subscribe to the Hoots podcast so you never miss an episode. Make sure to leave us a 4 or 5 star review on Apple Podcasts. That really helps expand the reach of the show. And type in some reviews. I'd like to know what you guys think about the show. If this is your first time listening, send some feedback, positive or negative. And for everybody who's getting the show a listen for the first time, I'd say thank you. Thank you for being a good brother and being a good sister. I don't have fans. We don't have fans here at the Hoots Podcast. You guys are all good brothers and good sisters. So, I'm flying solo this week as Brother Carter has some business to handle, and you'll hear at the end of the show, we have a pre-recorded version of the Thoughts of Dericho just for you lovely people. Today is the beginning of the 2020 NFL Draft, and I'll be talking about that towards the end of the show. But, you know, coming off the heels of what was just a really bad week of professional wrestling, this week's going to be a little different vibe where I can come out here and just talk a little bit about what's going on. We can talk shop now, which is good, and in good spirits, and you know, at the same time, I feel like I'm reaching my boiling point with this quarantine stuff. And when you live with somebody who has snarky comments every time you talk to them, it can get difficult at times. But that's another show for another time. Anyways, I'm just really excited to come on here. I always say this is my favorite day of the week because I come on here and get to have a conversation with you guys. And I just hope everybody's in good spirits, keeping their head up, keeping motivated, and just understand that once all of this shit passes by, just go straight ahead, forward, with no regrets, and go do what you want to do with your life, and stop letting people dictate your life and your decisions. I'll start off with that, okay? That's a little wisdom for today. Stop letting people dictate your thought process. Make your own decisions. Think for yourself. Today, in the podcast, we'll be chatting up what went down last night on AEW Dynamite and NXT. And talk about what's going on to this Road to Money in the Bank, where we have this unique concept of having the pay-per-view at WWE headquarters, aka Titan Towers, and everybody's going to climb the corporate. They're going to climb the corporate ladder, pal. Couple quick shout-outs, by the way. Make sure to check out the Crossroads new podcasts out there with my good brothers Jeff DFDC and Dusty Dave. Very good podcast. Just want to give a shout out to you, good brothers. Shout out to my good boy Anthony DeStefano. Make sure to check out his Philadelphia-based sports podcast called Whiz Wit Podcast. Make sure to go check that out. And let's see, of course, shout out to the main man Jonathan Hood for Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. And I'm trying to figure out where should we start. I mean, there's a lot to get into this in the world of professional wrestling, and I always said it, especially for those who are listening for the first time, this podcast has a very different vibe from the general shows where you're like, okay, this is SportsCenter. Let's break down every segment for Monday Night Raw. Let's break down every segment for SmackDown and tell you what's going on. And I just think if you take a step back and think about where we are right now in society, where we're in the middle of a pandemic, I really don't think conversations about booking or sagging television ratings is something that's pertinent or something to talk about. I understand we're all home in quarantine, but I think there's more important things I think there's more other things to worry about on a show than wrestling business metrics that none of us really don't know the right way to look at it, because we're not... The metrics for ratings for, let's say, an organization like the NFL is probably different from the way pro wrestling looks at how their business is dictated by the ratings they get. So I really think during a pandemic, booking and ratings is something that should be at least the last thing on our minds. But hey, wrestling Twitter is going to be wrestling Twitter, right? So I guess we should start off with this. And I have a big sports segment that I'm going to do at the end of the podcast this week, where I not only talk about the NFL draft and what I like to see the Bears do, but also I want to give some of my thoughts on the Last Dance series that they're airing on ESPN right now, and get to talk about that as the weeks go on, because I was literally born in the middle of 1994, and I got to watch the last part of the three-peat with Michael Jordan when he was part of the Chicago Bulls, and I just want to talk about that a little bit. And all right, let's start off with this. Let's start off with this week in WWE. And we need to take a step back all the way to SmackDown last week. You guys heard the promo in the beginning of the podcast from Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. And I always go to this line because it's so true. JR says this all the time. You always got to maximize your TV time, right? And I just couldn't be happier for not only Mandy Rose and what she's been doing over the last couple months. She's been fantastic. But also Sonya Deville, and just seeing the different layers of her character now that she turned her back on Mandy Rose. And just the dialogue and the back and forth exchange that they had was just really, really good. It's something that's got to be documented down the road, but you got to really think about this. For us wrestling fans, as we're watching these shows in empty arenas, or we got the essential ringside personnel that Dynamite has every single week, when we take a step back and we're watching these shows for what they are, my viewing process of professional wrestling is a lot different than yours. You're basically taking in what's watching on screen and then reacting accordingly, or letting somebody on Twitter dictate your opinion, right? For me, I think I'm able to tune out the crowd reactions and all the extra pomp and circumstances that come with professional wrestling, because my focus on getting the dialogue right with the promos for the shows, right, since I transcribe them, and more importantly, also conveying and give you a theater of their mind of what happened in the matches when I do a transcript. So my viewing process and intake of professional wrestling is much different from a common wrestling podcast host. So when I'm watching the show, I'm not thinking about booking. I'm not thinking about fan reactions. I'm not thinking about the narrative on Twitter. I got a job to do. And sometimes I watch the show twice a week before I come on here, just to maybe get a little different perspective from myself, the transcriber, and also Joshie, the wrestling fan, because I'm still a fan. I'm not an expert. I wouldn't call myself an analyst or anything like that. I am a professional broadcaster, but that doesn't make me a professional wrestling expert. But I do have different ways of looking at the product, and I've said this already to nauseam at times, but honestly, I think I've had, given the opportunity I've had to make transcripts and really break down these shows in depth, I have been able to enjoy all products in professional wrestling more than if I was just laying back like everybody else, coming home from work on a Monday night, just putting on Raw and then kicking my feet back and then just whining about things that really don't matter at the end of the day. And also, I put this out on Twitter the other day, and I want to get you guys' thoughts since this is my podcast and we can talk here, right? We can be honest. Don't you notice that wrestling fans mostly answer their own questions on Twitter while a live show's going on? You know, we could point out something that we don't like, but when you're asking some of the most obvious questions to the history of mankind, I don't know what to tell you, but we're on the road to Money in the Bank, which is going to be taking place on May 10th, which is actually a couple days after my birthday. My birthday's coming up 2 weeks from now, actually on May 7th, so I'm looking forward to that. Money in the Bank will be at Titan Towers for the very first time. We heard the concept, this really innovative concept in a way where you're having the Money in the Bank matches start from the ground level of Stamford, Connecticut's WWE headquarters and going all the way up to the rooftop. I gotta say, that commercial, that little teaser clip of what the actual setup's gonna be for Money in the Bank looked badass. I don't know how much of the show's already take, because it's definitely gonna have a cinematic feel like it was at WrestleMania. But I'm really curious to see how this plays out, because there's a lot of things that could go right with this, and there's a lot of little opportunities you could come in where you maybe you crash a creative meet, maybe a wrestler runs it to a t-shirt design guy and talks smack to him. Maybe you go into Vince McMahon's office. There's the opportunities when it comes to making this Money in the Bank ladder match unique is just endless. I'm just chuckling and laughing around just thinking the ideas that Daniel Bryan could come up for this type of match. So I'm just very interested to see how this goes. We've been having qualifying matches. And let me just say this really quick. I think all the shows from AEW and WWE, their brands, have done a really good job of putting out matches with everything that's going on and having stakes on them. I mean, we have the Inter Cruiserweight tournament that's been fantastic. We had the TNT Championship tournament going on right now as well. And I'll talk about those later when we get into the Wednesday Night War discussion on this podcast. But also these Money in the Bank qualifying matches has just been really, really top notch. And going back to my original point, I wonder how hard it's got to be to really convey a deep-rooted message in a promo where you're not looking in the camera and you have somebody standing in front of, right in front of you in the ring, and nobody's there to react to it. Like, I wonder how the perception and feel towards Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville's promo for Friday night would be if it was in Brooklyn, New York, or it was in Boston. Hell, even if it was here. I'm kind of hoping for a lot of us fans that are home and when we're able to attend these shows again, can actually just attend shows and enjoy them for what they are and not try to take away and hijack shows. I think it's so stupid. But that was the main thing I was thinking about when I was watching this promo. Like, man, the difficulty and the execution to convey a message like that, where usually you're nervous and you're thinking about some snarky comment that you'll get from people behind you from the audience, and you gotta remember lines, you gotta remember this, you gotta remember that. It's gotta be difficult, and I just gotta give all the love and praise and shout outs to Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville for how they pulled that off this past Friday night, because that was really good. I mean, we always talk about we want to see long-term storytelling. We want some actual dialogue with good context and all this extra stuff that comes with long-term storytelling, right? But when it's executed and you can block everything out of the way. You just want to hear them talk. And here are two performers that are not pushed or portrayed to the level of a Becky Lynch or Sasha Banks or Charlotte Flair. This past Friday night and just the last couple weeks in general, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville have been probably maximizing their TV time the best out of anybody, male or female, since we've been having these empty arena shows. That's just my opinion. And I can't give them enough props. I mean, that promo is really good. Hell, that was the reason why I chose it to be the opening part you hear for the podcast this week. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Let's see what else caught my eye. Shout out to the New Day becoming the brand new WWE SmackDown Tag Team Champions. We had some good matches as well on Monday Night Raw. We saw from Aleister Black against Austin Theory. I thought that was a really good match. MVP. I don't think people are giving MVP enough credit for what he's been doing so far, since he's been kind of like he's not like a major essential, major component to the shows on Raw, but when he comes on, he's helping and putting these talents up to another level and making them just awesome. Like, taking them to another level. Like, he helped get Drew McIntyre over before WrestleMania. He cut a really good promo for his match with Apollo Crews this week. And wins like that do count on the resume. Maybe to some of you guys, you don't want to see any veterans wrestling on any television shows, but they do serve a purpose. And what MVP is doing right now is great for the industry. Not only does he get to appear on television and help put younger guys over, but at the same time, he's actually a producer. He is an agent back there, and he's trying to help take this generation up to the next level. And I don't think MVP's been getting enough credit for what he's been doing so far since he's came back to the WWE. I really don't. So let's see what else really stood out to me. You know, it was kind of cool to see Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman start harking back to their Wyatt family days, and we saw the Black Sheep pop up out of the Christmas gift for Braun Strowman this past Friday on SmackDown. So I thought that was cool. I figured they would tap into that, and you saw how distraught Braun Strowman was. I mean, everybody says that, he had to be, the way to beat the Fiend is that you can't be in your head. Goldberg is just Goldberg. Whether you like him or not, he's a Neanderthal. He doesn't care about anything. He has no fear. So it makes sense why he would beat the Fiend. Now, when you have Braun Strowman, they do sometimes tap into Braun Strowman, the person, as opposed to the monster among men. And you just saw the look on his face when he pulled out the black sheep mask. And I just thought that was very interesting. So, I thought SmackDown was a good episode. I've been really surprised for the amount of wrestling that we've been getting on Monday Night Raw for the last couple of months, actually. I mean, this week Raw had 11 matches. Think about that. 11 matches. I just think that's absolutely insane. So, when I was thinking about this, everybody's up on arms like, oh my god, why is Seth Rollins getting a title shot? He lost at WrestleMania. I didn't hear anybody complain when AJ Styles had a title shot after he lost to Chris Jericho. So Seth Rollins is going to be fighting Drew McIntyre at Money in the Bank. What's the bigger match out of pay-per-view? Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins? Or Drew McIntyre versus Andrade? where McIntyre's been basically steamrolling through Camp Vega the entire time since WrestleMania. I want you to think about that, because does this mean that Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins are going to fight all the way through SummerSlam or whenever we're able to get fans back into the arenas? I don't know. But I can tell you right now, not only is Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins a bigger marquee match, honestly, I think it's probably a better match than any title match you would get with Drew McIntyre right now. And the fact that I'm seeing people like what Culture Wrestling and all these other dudes on Twitter say that Drew McIntyre is becoming Roman Reigns and, oh, this title reign hasn't been working, yada, yada, yada. Are you kidding me? We got a world champion who literally talks to you like a human, to you in the camera. And I want to give a shout out to him because he always mentions this on his podcast. When you're talking to somebody and you're conveying a message to somebody, when you take this seriously, when they're looking around in space and looking around their environments, wouldn't you rather have a conversation when somebody's looking at you? I don't know, maybe. But the guy is speaking from the heart. He's cutting good promos. He's having good matches. I don't see where the problem is here. We hype up these guys, and the moment they beat any of the internet's favorites, oh, they're getting the Roman Reigns push, because suddenly that's the thing now. Roman Reigns was being jammed down our throat because CM Punk said that Michael Hayes wanted Punk to make Roman look strong, as if Punk would have done that in the first place. Really? This is where we're going with. Roman Reigns had one of the biggest pops going into the SummerSlam with Randy Orton. And now, a year after that, he gets booed out of the building and he's the most hated guy in wrestling. Like, I don't really get the logic with a lot of you guys. And a lot of you that act like they know what's actually 50-50 booking and not, you really don't pay attention to the show. Because, yeah, there's repeated matches, but more times than not, there's not as much 50-50 booking as you think. And I would know because I cover the shows every single week. So this notion that Drew McIntyre is the next Roman Reigns, that's not a good thing. That's not my bad. It's not a bad thing because Roman Reigns is pretty fucking good. So everybody's like, why is Seth Rollins going after Drew McIntyre? Why not? You gotta play with the players you got there. And, you know, they're continuing on with these shows despite what anybody says. They're going on with these empty arena shows. And they want people to watch. And they want to put on a product for you guys. And, yeah, would it be cool for Kevin Owens, you know, getting off a big victory at WrestleMania and he gets a title shot? Of course. But Kevin Owens is assigned to being at home. Kevin Owens wants to be at home right now with his kids, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. So, conveniently, when you look at the Raw brand, who else, honestly, is going to have a bigger marquee match right now with Drew McIntyre besides Seth Rollins? It's not Brock. Unless Brock comes back again and wins Money in the Bank for the second year in a row. I want to play a couple comments here from Seth Rollins for this week's Monday Night Raw, and we'll continue on with this conversation.
You are a brave man, Drew McIntyre. A fighting champion. I admire that. I respect that. You know, not many men know what it's like to walk in your shoes. But I do. Not many men understand what it's like to go into the main event of WrestleMania and beat Brock Lesnar for a WWE championship. But I do. Stop! 'Cause 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 'c accept your challenge for a WWE Championship match at Money in the Bank. But not out of respect. And not out of disdain. I've got nothing against you, Drew. This isn't personal. I accept your challenge out of necessity, out of duty. Because right now, more than ever, the WWE Universe needs a leader. And as much as you and I have in common, the similarities stop there. I am a proven leader, and you're not. I am the one who will sacrifice for the greater good. I am the one who will make the difficult decisions. I am the one who will be the light in the darkness. And Money in the Bank, Drew. I'm going to take your title. And not because I want to, but because I have to.
There you go. The comments from Seth Rollins for this past week's Monday Night Raw. So, I thought, just in general for SmackDown Raw, I thought it was pretty solid episodes. Obviously, we can't convey and have great, over-the-top, amazing shows without fans. Obviously, the wrestling fans are the most important element and important cog to any successful pro wrestling show. So, the fact that they're still able to pull off solid television shows with context and good dialogue, that's really all we could ask for during this time period. Going back to what I said at the beginning of the show, I really don't think booking and ratings conversations really pertinent or just something that needs to be spotlighted during a pandemic. I really don't think that stuff matters at this point. We're having entertainment. We're still able to watch the greatest form of entertainment in the world, professional wrestling, and you still want to talk about booking and stuff that really doesn't matter. That just amazes me. So let's transition a little bit. Let's talk about the NWA, one of my favorite brands in professional wrestling. Believe it or not, folks, my favorite wrestling show, or my favorite brand right now in professional wrestling, is NXT UK. But a close second to that is NWA. I am a big fan of the National Wrestling Alliance. I like their brand. I want to give a shout out to Dave Lacana and Billy Corgan and the entire staff there for the National Wrestling Alliance. You guys already heard that I think that Nick Aldis is the best current world champion right now in any professional wrestling company. Nick Aldis is just the man. But let's talk about his insurance policy. I want to play a clip here from this week's preview of Superpower, where we finally hear comments from Kamille for the first time ever. I hope you enjoy. Let me pull this up really quick.
Cocky. Bitch.
Here we go.
Not approachable. These are things that people may have heard about me, and they're all true. But life made me this way. When I was a kid, I just wanted to have fun. I wasn't striving to be great. I just was. But then I learned something the hard way. People don't like you when you're gifted. In fact, they turn against you. When I played softball when I was little, the coaches, well, they loved me. But the parents of the girls, not so much. They actually got together and went to the coach and complained that I needed to be taken out of the league because I put their little girls in danger. but I decided I didn't want to play there anymore. I left that league to go play with the boys. Because from then on I realized I don't get along with girls. I'm just different. In high school, my stats were so good that parents were in the stands keeping their own stat books to make sure that mine weren't padded, to make sure that my numbers were right, because they could not believe that I was putting up the stats I was. So ever since I was little, I've been hated for my power, for my strength, for what I was born with. Hated by not only peers, but adults. So respect for authority, respect for anyone? Yeah, I don't have that. I'm an elite athlete. Every single sport I've ever played, ever tried, I've dominated. Division I softball, football, and professional wrestling, well, that came easy. October 2018, Nick Aldis called. He needed himself an insurance policy. Now, do you think that he hired me for simply my looks? He hired me because he knew I was a force and that I could take care of business. He didn't want some frail little liability by the ring. He wanted someone that could take a hit and give one back. Since October, championship match after championship match, Nick Aldis has retained. And what's the common denominator? His talent, yes, and me.
And I want to know why you won't let Kamille speak for herself.
And she can speak whenever she wants. You want proof? Go ahead.
Y'all keep questioning why I don't speak. I don't need to speak. I let my actions speak for me. See, my dad, he taught me that I better never start a fight, but I sure as hell better end one. It better take people dragging me off of someone while I'm on top of them to end that fight. So y'all think that me coming out there and taking action in the middle of the ring, you think that was random? You think that that was out of nowhere? Thunder Rosa, Melina, Allison K. I know how you guys treat me. See the little looks, the whispers backstage. People talk, but I'm here to end all of that. For those of you that are worried about what I'm doing in the future, worry about what Kamille is doing now. I'm here to end all of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, let's give her a standing woken O, shall we? That was awesome. That was tremendous. There you go. The first epic promo from Kamille. I wanted to air that for you guys today because I think I was able to put it in proper words of how good that promo that was. So I just let Kamille speak for herself. So I just thought that was just amazing. Let's talk about what happened last night in this week's edition of the Wednesday Night Wars, pal. We got AEW versus NXT. Let's start off with the good stuff. Let's start off with the NXT Interim Cruiserweight Championship Tournament. Right now, just some killer matches. I mean, you had Jake Atlas and Drake Maverick, which was awesome. That cartwheel DDT thing that Jake Atlas did was just absolutely nasty. And then we saw Tony Nese have a really good technical match with Kushida from New Japan Pro Wrestling, so I thought that was really nice. And something Kushida said in NXT last night I thought was very interesting. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this as well. Hit me up on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. Do you think that the Cruiserweight division gets enough respect or enough credit for what they do in the ring? Because I sure as hell don't. And I'm the guy that's been covering 205 Live since the beginning. So, yeah, I thought it was an interesting talking point that he had, because the Cruiserweight division in WWE does not get enough respect. Obviously, they don't get enough proper spotlight, and everybody and their mother, hell, even Stevie Wonder could figure out that 205 Live doesn't get the proper platform and respect that it deserves. Anyways, because Tony Nese had a really good match. And also, we saw the debut of El Hijo del Fantasma, or as I like to call him, King Cuerno. And the Lucha Underground fan of me was marking out, transcribing the match last night, because I think that was the first time I saw a match of his since he was on Impact, I think. And just, Fantasma is just fucking awesome, man. You guys are going to love him. He has a couple of moves. The suicide dive he does is called the Arrows from the Depths of Hell. And also that little Samoan driver he did towards the end for Jack Gallagher, that was called the Thrill of the Hunt. And he also has another move where it's a kneeling reverse package pile driver. That's called the Thrill of the Kill. And Phantasma is just fucking awesome. And I love watching that dude perform. And shout out to Jack Gallagher, man. Talk about reinventing yourself. This dude just changed his image. The way he's wrestling as well is just really, really good. So again, the in-ring action from NXT and AEW in general has just been really good from all shows. It's very rare you see some bad matches, especially during this time period. But again, shout out to all the performers on live television right now, no matter what company you're working for right now. You guys are keeping me on my toes, and I just gotta give credit where credit's due. You guys are doing a wonderful job in the ring as far as putting these matches together. Let's see what else stood out to me from NXT. The segment with Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae in their dining room eating dinner, I thought that was very interesting, because I was always told that popular baby faces from the independent scene don't do well in WWE. I don't think it's that they don't do well. Maybe to your eyes they're a good babyface in that realm, but to a national audience and what we saw last night from them, that's probably the best thing that's got me into Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano as characters so far. There's nothing that I or anybody else should take away from the wrestling skills. Their wrestling skills are awesome. They're just as great as anybody that we put over to the millions. But from a character standpoint, from what I saw from them last night, was the best character work I've seen from them so far in their run in WWE. It's been the most I've been interested in Johnny Gargano, and it's definitely the most I've been interested in as Candice LeRae. And how fitting is it that her being a heel is more interesting in a mainstream light than just the bubbly babyface who would just take endless amount of punishment at PWG. Interesting how that works, right? So I thought that segment was awesome, and then we got, we're getting closer. We're getting speedy steps. One show a week where we're getting closer to seeing the reveal of Karrion Kross, or I like to call him Killer Kross, and Scarlett Bordeaux arriving to NXT, and that's gonna be. People are gonna watch out, man. This dude is the real deal. I don't know how much more I can hype up this man. This dude is just absolutely talented to the gills, on the mic, in the ring, facial expressions, just everything about his IQ, the way he conveys stories on the mic and in the ring. It's just, I'm a Killer Kross Mark. I don't know if I'm a Mark of Killer Kross as much as Dusty Davis, but Kevin Owens is my current favorite wrestler in professional wrestling. I think Killer Kross is a close second on there on my list. But I'm just really happy for him. It looks like they're going all out with this dude, and as they should. This dude has the ability to be a major marquee star for the next 5 to 10 years, or depending on how much longer Killer Cross still wants to wrestle. And the closer we get to this reveal, and we finally see him cut some promos in Full Sail, so it's just going to be awesome. And some shit is about to go down. Let's just say that. I'll be honest with you, something I didn't like from NXT, not that the match was bad, but I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired of seeing Dakota Kai wrestle Tegan Nox. And I know this is kind of a staple with WWE where they'll bring somebody else in to have a tag match, and I don't know. I mean, I saw the Dakota Kai turn on Tegan Nox at NXT TakeOver War Games last year during Survivor Series weekend. And that was a cool moment, and obviously they've had some really good stipulation matches and matches on the TakeOver, but for me, I'd rather see Dakota Kai and Tegan move on to the next stage of their run in NXT. That's probably the only thing I didn't like from NXT last night. Let's see what else stood out to me. Oh, I'd be remiss without mentioning Mia Yim taking on Charlotte Flair next week. That should be interesting. And Damian Priest is going to get another shot at the NXT North American Championship next week as well on NXT due to him attacking Keith Lee. Originally, it was supposed to be the Velveteen Dream and Keith Lee against the Undisputed Era in the main event of NXT last night. That wasn't the case, so we pull in somebody who was staring at the Undisputed Era last week. The one and only Dexter Lumis, which I was surprised they really put him that quickly into the main event scene. So obviously there's something's got to go on here, but Dexter Lumis helped the Velveteen Dream defeat the Undisputed Era. Velveteen is getting very close to getting his opportunity at the NXT Championship, much to the dismay of Adam Cole, baby. But nonetheless, Man, the more as the weeks go by, I'm picking up more and more Michael Cole mannerisms, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but every time he goes to transition, his key word is nonetheless, right? So that's funny. So that was NXT, and then for AEW Dynamite last night. Really good promo from Cody Rhodes to kick off the show. I transcribed that. You guys could check it out on the website on ProWrestlingTranscripts.com. Just really like the little promo that Cody had there and trying to figure out what's his worth going into the TNT Championship tournament. So I thought that was good. And obviously their tournament match has been good. Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin had a really good match. Dynamite last night. Darby Allin will be advancing to the semifinals. Let's see what else stood out. Again, it's nice to hear from Broken Matt Hardy, but what I liked this week was the little twist where we actually hear from Matt Hardy as well. So I thought that was good. Broken Matt invited the false god Sammy Guevara to the Hardy compound. He's still calling Chris Jericho "Le Hole of the Ass," and Jericho's still killing it on the mic, killing it on commentary with Tony Schiavone. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this, and this may be a little shocking opinion from yours truly, knowing that JR is the reason why I got into pro wrestling in the first place, and this is not a slight towards JR, but honestly, a question from me to you: once things go back to normal, and we have fans in the arena, shouldn't Tony just handle the main play-by-play duties? Just want to throw that out there. Schiavone has just done an amazing job over the last couple months, and that dude's. I'm sure Cody would agree with this. I'm sure that Tony Khan would agree with this. Tony Schiavone has been the unsung hero for AEW, probably since the beginning as well, as far as on air and getting this product over. So shout out to you, Schiavone, you damn bastard. Again, AEW always has good, strong matches. I was kind of surprised that Kenny Omega took almost 10 minutes to pull away Allen Angels. I wasn't sure if Alan Angels is another lost member of the Dark Order, but he looked like he could be related to Stu Grayson, that's for sure. But they had a back and forth match. I saw that. And then we saw. I want to send my thoughts out to MJF, who's dealing with his hangnail injury. That doesn't sound like fun. So shout out to Maxwell Jacob Freeman. We saw Wardlow absolutely demolish Lee Johnson, and then same thing. Justin Law felt the wrath of Brody Lee. I'll say this, and you guys know how critical I've been about the Dark Order and Brody Lee since he's joined AEW. That vignette that we saw with him and Preston Vance last night was the best piece of work that Brody Lee has done in AEW. That is what you need to focus on, and not doing Vince McMahon skits. The Dark Order is supposed to be something to plague AEW. It's not about you feeling sorry for the fact that you didn't get pushed in WWE. You joined the Dark Order for a reason. So I thought that was really good. That was probably the best Dark Order vignette I've seen so far on Dynamite. And then other stuff on the show, we had Orange Cassidy and Jimmy Havoc. They had a really solid TV match. They're doing this thing now on Dynamite where Taz breaks down particular moves, the Taz technique, I think it's called. And it's a little different. Nothing wrong with that to put a further spotlight on interesting moves for these wrestlers. And I think Tony Khan mentioned that before, that he wanted to put emphasis on that and do like data and analytics into this move wins this certain percent of matches and stuff like that. So, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Tony Khan. This dude reminds me a lot of myself in a lot of ways. And there's been times that I've been critical of Tony Khan, just how he conducts himself on Twitter sometimes, or the comment he made about New Japan Pro Wrestling. But all that being said, I mean, the guy is showing that he cares. I think they say that Tony Khan is the main guy producing the show in the backstage area. And he's doing good, man. So I just want to give a shout out to Tony Khan as well. So there goes that. Now, we had the main event of Dustin Rhodes against Times New Roman font Kit Sabian. And I thought the match was good. Let me get that out of the way. Let's start off with the good stuff before we get to the bad. Nothing about the match was bad or anything like that. And I understand that AEW is trying to get people to hook onto their television show, and whole thing was they're building up the entire week. If Dustin Rhodes loses to Times New Roman, he would retire. Now, I don't know what's a more ludicrous marketing tool. Convincing me that Dustin Rhodes would lose the main event match to Kit Sabian, or AEW trying to convince me that Jake Hager is on the level of Brock Lesnar. I don't know what's worse. That was my issue with the main event last night. It had nothing to do with Dustin. I thought the match was good. It was nice to see somebody win the match via the Canadian Destroyer instead of it being a high spot during the match. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a good match. But just the premise that Dustin was going to retire and people were actually thinking that was going to happen, I didn't buy it 1 second. So, I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't for me, that promotional too. But nonetheless, I thought the match with Dustin and Kit Sabian was good. So, looking back at it from the shows that I covered last night, I thought both NXT and AEW Dynamite were good on their own accord. So, really don't have a winner this week. I'm sorry if you're looking for that. And I'm sure Brian Alvarez will be the first one to tweet out the ratings this week. But I really don't care about this right now. We got a pandemic going on. The last thing that's on my mind is ratings, or who's... all that backstage stuff doesn't matter, pandemic or non-pandemic, but that's another show for another time. Alright, let's get into our final part of this extravaganza of the Hoots podcast. I don't want to keep you guys too long this week. Let's talk about The Last Dance. the series that's sweeping the nation. Everybody was talking about it on Sunday. I got to watch it, the first 2 episodes. Let me just say, man, Michael Jordan is just, he's just from a different planet. The dude just wired differently, man. And, you know, I'm not the only person that looks up to Michael Jordan in a lot of ways. And obviously, they'll touch on in the series that he wasn't always the greatest person to deal with. But just for the fact of motivation and proving people wrong and this general nature of competitiveness that I have inside of me, I relate a lot to Michael Jordan in the fact that I want to be the best in what I do and not letting anybody get in my way and proving people wrong. I relate to Michael Jordan to that in a lot of contexts. Obviously, I'm not trying to be a basketball player or anything like that, but I think anybody where you want to be a broadcaster or a teacher or God, who would want to be a politician? But you get my point. You probably want to be the best in some way or another, no matter what profession you're in. In some way, you are inspired by Michael Jordan and what he accomplished in his NBA career. And just the behind-the-scenes drama that's going on with the Bulls and the team in general, I thought it was very interesting, and I'm learning a lot of stuff because I was born in 1994, and during that time, Michael Jordan was playing for the White Sox, and I only started watching basketball, I think it was either 97 or 98, so The Last Dance was the 98 season, and yeah, I never had the opportunity to see Michael Jordan play in person, which sucks. It really sucks because I would love to watch that. Maybe I did. I'll have to ask my dad or something like that because he was big in the Bulls and not in the mid to late 90s. So I'll have to ask him about that. But, you know, I never had a chance to see him play. And it sucks because I admire that dude. And, you know, it's cool. Like, you just want to see awesome athletes play in person. It's not that you want to stare at them or do some weird odd stuff like that. No, that's not what I'm saying. It'd just be cool to watch him just play a game of basketball in person. I just think it would be cool. I didn't get a chance to watch Derrick Rose play in person either, which sucked. Maybe I could do that sometime soon. Maybe Derrick Rose could come back to the Bulls now since we got new front office guys. But going back to The Last Dance, just the bitch roll that's going on with the team and Jerry Krause was kind of disheartening as a Chicago sports fan. And I'm not really surprised because just growing up as a Chicago sports fan and just a fan of Chicago sports media in general, I'm just kind of disappointed that Jerry Reinsdorf would let a general manager dictate what he did with his own business and not see that more money could come through the table with the fact that he could have maybe 1 or 2 more championships after that Last Dance season. Why did Phil have to go? Why did Scotty and MJ have to go? Why did we need Tim Floyd? Why did we need to have a rebuild? Like, what was the hill that Jerry Krause wanted to die on so bad that he wanted to win a title without Michael Jordan or Phil Jackson? Like, how you get off on that? You have the best player of all time. You have the best second guy of all time. It's Scottie Pippen. Skip Bayless. Scotty is a top 50 player of all time. I want to throw that out there, jackass. But the archive footage and get to see Michael Jordan grow up from North Carolina to where he was, and then we got to know a little bit about Scottie Pippen's story, which I thought was fascinating as well. It's going to be a little different. Obviously, they touch a lot on what goes on in the Last Dance season, but we also get to know about Michael Jordan and his background story. We talk about the Bulls. I think this week they're actually gonna be talking about the Detroit years of having to beat Detroit first before getting their first championship. So it's not just only on the 98 Bulls, it's just that era of the Bulls and their impact in not only the NBA, but just sports in general. So the footage has been amazing. I'll definitely rewatch this whole series once all the episodes are out. And I really don't watch a lot of TV, but I just wanted to say that I've really been enjoying The Last Dance so far. Speaking of Chicago sports and Chicago sports media, I want to send my thoughts out to Marc Silverman of ESPN 1000, WMVPA of Chicago here, for those who don't live in the city. Sylvie announced the other day that he's dealing with non-Hodgkin lymphoma, a form of cancer, and just really, really sad, man. The guy's in his late 40s. He has 2 young boys at home, and it sucks. Sylvie's been basically the afternoon host on ESPN 1000 for the majority of the time I've been born. And Waddle and Sylvie, I still think, is probably the most highest rated Chicago sports talk radio show in the city. And Sylvie has a lot of fans and stuff. And my thoughts are with him, man, because I never want to see anybody go through cancer or anything like that. That shit just sucks. All of us in some way have been affected by cancer, where we lost a family member or a close friend to it. But my thoughts are with you, Sylvie. You'll definitely pass through this, and you'll make this lymphoma your bitch. So Sylvie strong, everybody. Let's give a shout out to Sylvie really quick. And then finally, and we can keep this in the good mood because I don't want to feel bad, but I just thought it'd be important to send a shout out to Sylvie because Sylvie's a good dude and a very talented radio host. So it was just really some sad news to see that the other day. So last thing we'll talk about today is the NFL draft. It starts tonight as I'm recording this on a Thursday, which I'm really, really excited for. I'm just intrigued by the concept of, hey, look at this. You have a virtual draft. Which GMs are going to have bad Wi-Fi connection? I'm sure all of you guys are wondering about that too. Honestly, I can't get too excited tonight because the Bears don't draft until tomorrow. We have the 43 and 50th pick of the second round of the draft. I don't think we have a third round pick either, so we got to sit and wait for a while for our Bears to see what they do for the draft. I know a lot of people say that they should go get a tight end and maybe get some help on the offensive line. I think it'd be very important to find a guy that's a good mid-round steal for a quarterback position. Not cornerback, defensive back. Whether that's a safety or a quarterback, find one of those guys. I don't think the NFL, or at least the ESPN media contingent, really talks about Eddie Jackson being one of the biggest steals in the draft over the last couple of years. I think we got Eddie in the 4th round in 2017. And speaking of the Bears, I really enjoyed Mitch Trubisky's chat with Chase Daniels on Chase Daniels' podcast. I thought that was pretty cool to see Mitch in a different element, so it was really cool to see that. And then going back to the Bears, like, if you look at the positions right now, I'd probably say the top 3 positions that probably needs to be addressed the most, to me, is number 1, right guard. I don't think it's been talked about enough how much of the impact of Kyle Long's injuries has had on this team, and Mitch Trubisky in general. Because we all know good offensive line play and good running games open up everything you need for the passing game. And Kyle Long was a great player here in Chicago. I loved Kyle Long. He did an amazing job during his run here with the Bears. And I felt really bad for him that his career got cut short due to injuries. It sucks. It happens to a lot of athletes. He's not immune to this. But that position is very vital because you can't start anything if you don't have a run game. You can't do anything on offense if your offense is not moving any of your defense opponents backwards. It all starts with the offensive line, and even for myself who played high school football, I know that football is won in between the lines. It's not receivers, it's not quarterbacks who do or don't have accuracy. It's none of that stuff. It's won in the trenches, and you have to start off with an offensive guard. So that's number one for me. Number two, I'll say tight end. Unless there's the possibility that the Bears trade for O.J. Howard, since, by the way, most unpredictable, no, I'm kidding, the most predictable trade of the offseason. Rob Gronkowski is back in the NFL. And your current WWE 24/7 champions with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, if we could get O.J. Howard, I think that'd be pretty cool. If not, I'd definitely see if you could snag one more tight end to fit in that tight end group. And then, number three, I'd say safety. This is safety that could allow Eddie Jackson to go back to play center field. So, offensive guard, tight end, and safety are my picks. And obviously, if you could find a really good steal of a defensive back or a cornerback, I think that would be really cool. So that's just my quick thoughts on the NFL draft for the Bears-wise. Obviously, we'll get to more Chicago sports conversations as the weeks go by. But I just wanted to come on here and talk some sports with you guys. So there goes that. With that said, and on that note, I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to spend some time out of your day during this quarantine session to listen to yours truly babble on. And hopefully I made your experience enjoyable. Make sure to subscribe to the Hoots podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave us a 4 or 5 star review to help expand the reach of the reach of the show. And I just want to know what your guys' thoughts on the podcast. And again, I want to send a shout out to each and every one of you. We just surpassed 150,000 listens and downloads on Anchor. And that's thanks to each and every single one of you. I love you guys. I'm very humbled by that. By the fact that we reached over 150K in a year and a half. I just think that's very, very humbling. And you guys are awesome. So this is a partnership. I come on here. We have my crew here that we do these shows together. But you guys are the most important part of this podcast. So again, thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. I'm on Instagram, Joshie Lopez 94, and at Josh Lopez Music. Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. And again, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. With that said, this has been episode 202 of the Hoots Podcast. We're a couple weeks away from the Bank of Money pay-per-view at Titan Towers. And next week, we'll have the return of Brother Carter as well. Speaking of Brother Carter, now it's time for this week's edition of the Thoughts of Dericho. You know it, man.
And now, the Thoughts of Dericho. Listen well, man. Welcome, welcome, one and all, to what will undoubtedly be the most inspirational part of your week. It is the Thoughts of Dericho, featuring the one, the only, Brother Carter. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh my gosh, I was so looking forward to hearing the live edition of the Thoughts of Dericho on the Hoots podcast with Josh, but he's sending us something via satellite this week? Yes, it is true, loyal listeners of the podcast that Hoots. I'm not able to be there live this week, unfortunately. I actually, this is the time where I normally make a joke about the director of operations and being in business meetings and such. But I actually am going to be in meetings all day today, so unfortunately I don't have time to record with Josh today. But rest assured, faithful viewers, I will be back live next week. And will we have a lot to talk about. But for right now, I want to talk about what's some things this week and some of my thoughts and all that kind of good stuff, because that is what we do here on the Thoughts of Dericho. Let's start with SmackDown this past week. Good show. I enjoyed the show. New SmackDown Tag Team Champions. That's cool. Always love to see when the New Day gets a chance to shine because they're great. I've always been a big fan of them. I don't know if you got to see, and Josh actually showed this to me, I don't know if you got to see Big E's workout video that WWE posted afterwards. It was great. He's, licking the tag team titles and doing a big workout. I thought that was just absolutely hilarious. So that was very, 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 very cool. I will say I'm also very curious to see what WWE is going to do next week with the 25th anniversary celebration for Triple H. No doubt that he deserves it. One of the best of all time, easily in the top 5 of all time. He very much deserves it. It'll be cool. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the Performance Center, if this is going to set up a feud down the road or if they're just going to do kind of like a Triple H appreciation night or something. So I'm very curious what they will do with that. The segment with The Rock, I don't know if you got to see this, but The Rock sent him a message on WWE's The Bump yesterday. I'm recording this on the Thursday morning, and was on The Bump yesterday. It was really cool. So if you don't get a chance, check that out. If you haven't had a chance to, check it out. It's pretty cool. I am so happy that Dana Brooke is finally getting her chance to shine. She qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match last week. She's getting a chance to go for for the Women's Tag Team Championships this coming week on SmackDown. I'm so happy. Any of you that have followed me or seen my tweets on Wrestling Rumors, you know what a big fan I am of Dana Brooke, and I think that she has an incredibly wonderful skill set in the ring. I think that she has a good look to her. Good look, good build, very athletic, has a lot of strength and skill in the ring, and she's finally getting a chance. So I'm very happy for her to see what she gets to do. In addition, switching to Raw, I am very happy that it looks like they're finally giving a push to Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews has always been gifted in the ring. He's just never had a chance to shine. And maybe it's because he hasn't found the right gimmick yet. Same with Dana Brooke. They just haven't found the right gimmick for them yet. But it looks like Apollo Crews is finally getting a push. He got a win over MVP this week. He got a win over a WWE legend. So that was really cool. Really excited for both of them to see what they will be doing going forward. I noticed, and I'm actually going to talk a lot about the Riot Squad this week when it comes to Raw, and this is some things that really stuck out to me. Number one is that they were mentioning Sarah Logan a lot on Raw this week, which leads me to believe that she may be coming back to the company sooner rather than later. She was one of the superstars that was laid off in the big week of layoffs last week for WWE. And I thought it was usually when they do these sorts of things, they don't mention the character as much. But they seem to mention Sarah Logan a lot. If you go back and watch Raw, they talked about her a lot when they were doing things with Shayna Baszler and with the Riot Squad and that sort of thing. So just go back and look. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing Sarah Logan sooner rather than later. Also, I really wish that they would have done more with the build with Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott, because they, Ruby Riott came back after not being there for a while, about a month ago. Then she turned on Liv Morgan, and then we didn't really see Ruby Riott a whole lot. That was like 2 months ago, because that was for Elimination Chamber. Then we didn't really see a whole lot with her. Then they kind of just had a match, and Liv Morgan got her revenge. So there was no real build to that. And I think they could have had a really great story building into a pay-per-view, having a match at Money in the Bank, or if they wanted to delay it till, the June pay-per-view, they could have done that. But I really was hoping that they would have had more of a build to the Liv Morgan Ruby Riott feud. And maybe they'll have a feud later on, who knows. But I really wish they would have built more to that. All right, just a few things to talk about with AEW this week. Dynamite, another really, really solid show. AEW has been kicking some serious ass in this quarantine, and I am all in on AEW, and it's been fantastic. I look forward to AEW each week. There's times where I look forward to it more than in some ways I look to it forward to it more. I look forward to all shows, but really, they've been really stepping up. In some ways, I look forward to seeing it more than Raw or SmackDown. But Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin continue to step it up and just continue to improve their game. I could see them coming up together in AEW. One of the things that Josh and I talk about is, what is AEW doing to build their own stars? And Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin could be two tried and true, built from the bottom AEW talents, and could be intertwined as they go through the ranks. They're both very talented in the ring, have great characters. I'm a big fan of both of those characters. I think it's awesome. Matt Hardy going back and forth between the broken character and normal in his promo was really, really, really cool. I really, really enjoyed that. I thought that was kind of neat, and it'll be curious to see what they do. Another thing they can do is just they can do some matches at the Hardy compound. Now that Matt Hardy's got a ring there, you can send a film crew. I think they said that the false god, false Spanish god, Sammy Guevara, is going to go and have a match with him at the Hardy compound. But that's going to be cool. Really looking forward to that. That's going to be kind of neat. Orange Cassidy had his in-ring debut. Looked good. I thought it was great. I loved in his entrance. He's like, from wherever, ways, whatever. That was cool. I thought that was hilarious. Just another depth to that character. I think it's great. But ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you, it was one of the darkest days in AEW history last night because MJF has a hangnail. Oh, gosh, it's just heart-wrenching. Horrible that MJF has a hangnail, and I hope that he'll be back soon. But obviously he has real injuries, but that was awesome. I love it. There's another one, MJF, who could be a tried-and-true star from that AEW is bringing from the bottom up, could go through and just be a huge contributor to the future of AEW. I love MJF. Every week I love me some MJF. And so I think that's awesome. And then finally, last thing about Dynamite this week is just Chris Jericho and Tony Schiavone on commentary are just great. I mean, Jericho does good at anything he does, but the chemistry between Jericho and Schiavone is awesome. They've had it since their days of WCW, the whole Ski-a-Vone thing. I think it's just brilliant. And like I said, I just love what AEW is doing. And I hope that they continue to build on that in the weeks to come. And that is the Thoughts of Dericho for the week of April 23rd, 2020. My final thought is the NFL draft is tonight, and I hate the fact that we cannot boo Roger Goodell live. It is always one of my favorite sports moments of the year. This has been the Thoughts of Dericho. You're smarter now, man.